Hello, welcome to another episode of Talking Rangers. Today is Monday, March 31st. This is episode 63 of the Talking Rangers podcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Make sure to please like and subscribe. We have reached the final day of March, just 8 games left. Playoffs start up this month or next month, whenever you're watching this. One day from now, April, playoffs begin. In just a couple weeks. Rangers continue to kind of still find themselves in position to make a playoff berth here, despite everything that's taken place this season. Crazy that they're still in the mix. Montreal right now has a game in hand at 77 points. Rangers 74 games, 77 points. So really going to be battle to the end here, to the final couple games of the season. 8 games left for the Rangers. Gabe Perreault gets called up. He signs an entry-level contract, obviously 3 years. So that's a positive. Lots to discuss. Joe, how's it going, man? Never a dull moment. Lots going on in Rangers land.
Yeah, I mean, this team's like treading water, but luckily for them, every other team around them is pretty much losing. Like, I feel like if you look at all the like last 10 games for like the 5 teams in contention, they're like 4-5-1, 3-6-1. Like, it's kind of like a shit show. But I don't even know. I mean, just this team continuously just never fails to disappoint us. If we're being sarcastic, but I mean, obviously the Kings are really good, so I thought they played okay in that game. They didn't have a good first period, but then you get the 1-0 lead, then you take the 2 penalties, and you get nothing after that. You lose 2-1. Again, a game that they could have won, just how well Igor played, but they've been throwing away a couple like great Igor performances over the last couple of weeks, like the one against the Flames. He played well against the Maple Leafs, played really well against the Kings, and getting points there. And then I mean, he didn't play great against the Ducks, and that was a whole disaster. I mean, that we could be looking at the last game of the season and getting out of the playoffs by 1 point. And I know you could look at any game from any part of the season, like, oh, well, could have got a point there, you could have got a point there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this game's in a crucial time at the end of the season when you need every point. You're up 2 goals against one of the worst teams in the league, and you blow a game with 6 minutes left, giving up 2 goals. It's just unacceptable. I mean, it's the Rangers, so like I kind of expected it, but I mean, Igor didn't really play well. I thought Keandre Miller was terrible. I don't know. And then obviously you play the Sharks, who were the worst team in the league. So good job, I guess, beating the Sharks. But like I said, they're getting lucky with these teams playing like garbage. Like, the Islanders have lost like 4 in a row. Even the Canadians have lost like 4 of the last 5. They got a huge win on the road yesterday, which we were talking about before. Like that could, who knows, that maybe that propels them to a big winning streak at the end of the season. I know they get the Panthers again tomorrow, but that one's at the Bell Center. So maybe, get some momentum coming back home against a team you just beat. But like Blue Jackets haven't been great. I know they came back from 3-0 down. Obviously, all these teams like haven't been playing great, but they come back in games and get points and win. Where the Rangers never do that. I think it was on Friday, maybe. They came back from 3-0 the first period against the Canucks. So I don't know. I really don't think the Red Wings are going to do anything, but at the same time, the Rangers haven't played well enough to even be in the playoffs, but somehow we're here with 2 weeks left, and they're not a point out, they're a game out, I guess. I don't know how you would say it, just because the Panthers lose, then they would pass them because the Rangers do have so many more regulation wins in them, and that's the first tiebreaker. But I don't know. I'm not gonna even. I've kind of done. I'm done saying one way or the other. Like this team is done, or this team's gonna make the playoffs. Yeah. I think at this point, I'm just gonna watch, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it. I mean, we talked last week. We thought maybe the next episode, we'd have a pretty good idea of where this team would be at, and here we are, the next episode, and we still
no
don't
idea.
really know. And that's That's been the way all year. They just, they don't win 3 games in a row. They haven't had this one dominant stretch. They've been average ever since they had that really bad, horrible November, horrible December. Since January, they've been average to like slightly above average, but that's still not completely good enough. And you kind of look at, last couple weeks here, March hasn't really treated them very well, really just this last month. I mean, they've only
A lot of
won.
blown games too. They
Yeah, a
blew that
lot of
game against the Senators. They
yeah.
blew the game against the Capitals.
They
They
had
blew the game against the Ducks. A
yeah.
lot of third period collapses.
And they had the bad terrible loss against the Flames.
Yeah.
They lost that Edmonton game as well. They got blown out 7-3 against Columbus. So they've had some bad losses,
Bunkers.
no shows. Heck, even the Sabres game coming out of the break at the end of February. I know that wasn't March, but they no showed for that game. So it's been pretty rough. Outside of those, like they had the 2 shutouts to open up March. You had the back-to-back shutouts, but since then they've only won 4 games. The Minnesota, Columbus, and then Vancouver, and of course San Jose on Saturday. So the Ducks loss is going to come back to bite them. I have a feeling. I know you can't be up 3-1 in that game and then 4-2 and blow a lead like that. And it's another one of those. It's just another one of those times where the team kind of just gives up. Like if they were truly fighting and battling, that's a game they would have won. They would have went into overtime and found a way to win. But it's like anytime this team hits adversity, they crumble. This season in any of these games where they let up a lead and they go into overtime, they crumble. Like so often, they fall down, they crumble, they don't come back. They're the complete opposite of the no quit in New York than they, obviously a year ago.
That's been retired.
Yeah, it's quit in New York. So I don't know. I have a feeling that next episode we're going to be in a very similar spot. Canadians, I could see them losing tomorrow. Their schedule starts tonight, right? Do they play? No, tomorrow.
They play tomorrow.
Yeah, I think there's only 4 games on tonight. Not much happening. But I could see the Canadians losing to Florida. I doubt they beat them 2 in a row. But like you said, if they do, one of those being on the road, I mean, you have to definitely be watching for a potential run if you're able to beat, the defending Stanley Cup champions in, back-to-back games. Especially in a playoff race like this, and when you see the Rangers having a tough time against the Ducks, it's
they got 10 games left. The Canadians, they got home against the Panthers, home against Bruins, home against Flyers, then on the road against the Predators, home against Red Wings, on the road against the Senators, on the road against the Leafs, and then they finish 2 home games against the Blackhawks and the Hurricanes. So I think they'll probably lose the Panthers, split with the Flyers and Bruins, beat the Predators. I think they'll beat the Red Wings. They'll beat the Blackhawks. I think they'll split with the Senators and Maple Leafs, and then I think they'll lose to the Hurricanes. So what is that? Let's see, 1, 2, 3.
Is that like 5 and 4?
Yeah, 5 and 5 maybe. Because that's 10 games, right?
I thought they had 9. They had one back of the Rangers. They got 8.
So I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 and 4. That would put them at what?
What is that? 10, 87?
87. And that's what I said the Rangers were going to get.
And no OT losses either. That's not including.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So let's just say 5 and 4, no overtime losses. 10. The Rangers would then, with 8 games left, have to go what? Well, they beat them in the regulation, but what? You'd have to go 5 and 3 at least?
No, you have to go 5. Wait.
Because it would be 87.
Yeah, no, you're right, yeah.
And then they'd have the tiebreaker, so yeah. I mean, and you look at the Rangers schedule though, 5 games.
I think if the Rangers win 5, they should make the playoffs.
Yeah. But the problem is you look at the Rangers schedule and look, anything can happen. I mean, we went into this West Coast trip thinking that we'd be talking about the Rangers chasing 3 straight wins against Minnesota. I definitely thought that. I thought they'd beat Anaheim and San Jose, give us the old classic tease, and then go and no show at home against Minnesota. Think like, okay, maybe they're finding something and they lose to Wild, and we just go back and look at the fact that they beat the Ducks in San Jose, and that's the only reason they won, because those 2 teams stink. But that obviously didn't happen. But the Rangers' path to 5 wins isn't easy. I mean, Philly and the Islanders you should beat. But then it's the Devils, the Wild, Tampa, Carolina, Florida, Tampa. You can beat Minnesota. They had the bad loss to the Devils the other day. They play them again tonight, so we'll see what happens. But they are a team that's obviously very much comfortable in that West wild card race, in the first wild card spot. So, they've beaten Minnesota before. You feel like you'd have to win, right? Beat them, Philly,
I think
Islanders.
it's got to be 5. I
Yeah,
think that's the
that would be your
number.
most realistic path to 3, and then split or take one of the Florida games, and then you got to split the Carolina Devils. At least.
I don't think the Lightning will beat them twice.
No, I think
that.
they could beat the Lightning at home.
They had 2 games at home against
Well,
Lightning.
2 games at home, yeah, because never mind. Yeah, they're on the road in Florida. And they have 4-4, so it's Devils road, Carolina road, Islanders.
Are you sure? I thought the Florida game was home.
I think it's on the road because I think they have that stretch of like 3 straight road games, and
then that means that
Tampa.
I assume then one of the Lightning games is away, right? There's no way to go down and just play Florida.
I think they're both.
No, you're right. No, you're right.
Which doesn't make much sense.
They go all the way down to Florida and then come back. Well, they don't play the Lightning back to back, but yeah, they go. All right, so we broke down the other schedule. That's 9. The 8 games for the Rangers.
Yeah,
kind of already talking about
Minnesota
home
Devils.
against Minnesota, at the Devils, and then home against
Tampa, Philly.
They got a back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday, home against Flyers, and then the next day at the Islanders.
Should be 2 wins.
And then you got at Carolina on Saturday, at the Panthers on Monday, and then you finish the season home against the Lightning on Thursday.
2 weeks.
Yeah. What's today? Yeah. So there's 17 days left, or 18 days left for the regular season for the Rangers. And they play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 games in. Well, that's 8 games in 17 days. I guess no, it's less. It's 8 games in 16 days.
And
because they play the second, they don't play the first. So it's 8 games in 16 days to finish the season.
And what, 5 of them are in the playoffs right now? Minnesota, Devils, Tampa, Carolina, Florida, Philly, Islanders aren't, and Tampa twice. So yeah, 5. So out of the 7 teams they play left, 5 of them are in the playoffs.
I guess at this point,
Montreal is what? Florida, yes.
If tomorrow breaks their way, right?
Yeah, they lose to Florida. Mm-hmm.
If Florida wins, and then I think who does Columbus play? Columbus plays the Predators, so they'll probably win. But we'll just say if Columbus loses tomorrow, and the Panthers lose tomorrow, then the Rangers control everything.
Yeah.
Because I think if the Blue Jackets win both games in hand, they pass the Rangers, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. It's actually not that different. Canadians play 4 playoffs.
Well, the thing is, well, the only positive thing for the Rangers, outside of they're right there with the Canadians. If you look at the teams behind them, right? The Islanders, the Rangers play them, right? So that's a good thing for them. They have only 1 game in hand on the Rangers, and they're 3 points behind.
Yeah.
So they can't pass the Rangers with games in hand, and they have the tiebreaker. Same thing for the Red Wings. They don't play them, but 1 game in hand they have on the Rangers, and again, 3 points behind. So 3 points behind, technically 4, right? Because they, like I said, they have to get that extra point.
Yeah.
So I think you can eliminate the Red Wings and the Islanders. Then it comes down to the 3 teams: Rangers, the Canadians, and Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets need to win 2 more games than the Rangers. They need to win the game in hand and a game after that.
Yeah.
Or they need to win both the games in hand. So they I know they have the games in hand, but they have to win both. And like I said, if the Canadians were to lose tomorrow, then the Rangers, they'd be tied games in hand, tied points. Rangers are the tiebreaker. So the Rangers, that was a big win for the Canadians, I'd say, yesterday. Yeah. So they need the Panthers to win tomorrow. They need that. They really need that. And then, like I said, if they do, pretty much the Rangers hold their, they control their destiny.
Yeah. And when you look at Columbus's schedule, after they play Nashville, they'll get Colorado, Toronto, Ottawa, 2 games in a row.
Yeah, they have a tough schedule.
Buffalo, then 2 games against the Capitals, Philly, and the Islanders. So, you're talking about a back-to-back against the Capitals, which will be tough. The 2 games against Ottawa will be tough.
And like I
Toronto
said,
and
they have to win
Raptors
both
will
the
be
games in
toughest.
hand.
Yeah.
They do, like I said, they play the Predators, which is easy for them. Probably.
Yeah,
I mean, you never know. It's the
they're
NHL.
struggling.
I mean, we lost to the Ducks, so anything can happen. But you know, like the Canadians, like you said, have some easy games coming up too. But Flyers, Predators, Blackhawks. But you know, I don't think they'll lose to the Blackhawks, but they could lose to the Flyers or Predators. Predators with Soros.
I mean, I don't really think. I mean, even Montreal, right? They lost 5 straight before that Florida game. With the way the Eastern Conference is playing out, I don't really think. Like, I think all of these fan bases probably don't even trust their own teams. Like Montreal, Columbus, they've both had their rough stretches. Columbus, just looking at it, they actually lost to Nashville earlier in the year in overtime. So they did pick up a point, but they still lost. And I know it was all the way back in October, but still. So maybe they lose again. But I mean, you're talking about a Columbus team that's been awful. I mean, they just came off of what, like a 6-game losing streak. Montreal was 5 straight. So the East is just so bad. Like the East wild card.
I think it's going to come down to the Rangers and the Canadians. And like I said, I'm not really going to give in like for the Rangers side of like what I think either way. But like if I had to choose, I think it's going to be Montreal.
Yeah.
Just a gut
I don't know.
feeling.
I still think the Rangers will get in just to torture.
I know, but just because they have such a favorable schedule.
They do, but I just they have a favorable schedule, but it's so you don't like they just lost to Philly a couple nights ago.
Yeah, and they got killed by Philly, I think.
Yeah. And then they got shut out. I mean, the Rangers played bad, but shut out against the Flames earlier this month. Flames right now aren't in a wild card spot. They're pretty far out. The Blues seem to be taking over that second spot in the West. With Vancouver and teams like that falling pretty far behind.
Yeah.
It's like they haven't played their best hockey either, and nor are they even that. They're still kind of that young team on the rise. They still might be a year away from legitimately actually making it and capitalizing next year. You know, I don't. But the same thing goes for the Rangers. You know, they just lost to the Ducks, and they no-showed against the Flames, and you know they blew a game against the Capitals and the Senators, and they got smoked by Columbus, and they no-showed against. Well, that was a long time ago, but they had that terrible Buffalo loss. Like there is a long list of that Pittsburgh loss. Like there is a long list of games that the Rangers just have not shown up for. That we could count that Philly game as a win. They can go out there and lose 3-1. They lost to Philly earlier in the year. Anything's possible with this team. We just don't know any given night because they're soft. They don't seem to care much right now. It's kind of they got to hope that they kind of catch some of these other teams on off nights too. I think that's part of it. Like I don't think the Rangers are going to outplay a tough team right now. They got to kind of hope that
they're going to need Igor.
Teams is just flat out.
Igor's got to be on his A game.
Yeah, which is,
he's probably going to play every single game for the rest of the year except that back-to-back.
Yeah,
and maybe he does play that back-to-back because what was that I say? It was the Islanders Flyers.
Yeah, they could. He could.
They need that game, even though Jonathan Quick's been great.
If you would in that situation though, would you go Quick against Philly and then?
Depends. It depends. Honestly, I think it's day by day. Like if we need to win that game, I think I go Igor.
Yeah.
I think Igor should play the first game out of the back-to-back.
Mm-hmm. So that'll probably be how it is.
Then if you win, it's not saying that you're not giving. Like it's not giving up, or not saying giving up, but like you got that win, so then you're going to the next game feeling confident. Where like you can trust Quick maybe just because he's been playing well too. Maybe even better than Igor, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, it's a lot of scoreboard watching coming up. Not tonight, really. I mean, the Devils are going to make the playoffs, so
yeah, it's just wild.
Tuesday, we'll we'll see what the Islanders do. We'll see what the Red Wings do. We'll see what the Blue Jackets do. Obviously, we'll see what the Canadians do, and then from there, we're pretty much going to be playing like almost every other day. Well, I know they have 2 days off in between both these games, right?
Yeah.
We have today. Or no, 3 days off. They had Sunday off, Monday off, Tuesday off. Then they play Wednesday.
Yeah.
Then they play Thursday, Friday off, and then they play Saturday, and then it's every other day pretty much for the rest of the season.
I will say what's nice about like the scoreboard watching isn't fun, but just the way the schedule is breaking out, not many of these teams play against each other, which kind of benefits the Rangers because you're not going to have like Columbus
None
or
of them do, right?
Montreal.
Maybe one of them
No,
plays like
I
the
don't.
Islanders, right? You
May,
said
yeah, I mean Montreal doesn't play the Islanders, and Columbus
they must play the Islanders.
does.
Yeah.
Columbus does the last game of the season, so who knows at that point how much of that game even matters. But what's nice about it is, they you're not going to have these games where one team's going to automatically pick up.
Tomorrow is going to be a big game for the Canadians. Like,
Yeah,
if they take two in a row against the
two in a row, then you
the
have a
Panthers,
terrible
and then you got some easy
lost
games.
5 in a row, and then Philly. Yeah,
We need the Panthers tomorrow. We need them.
Go Panthers. Rangers still at 32.8%. I think last week they were around that range of like 30% in playoff odds.
At one point, it's gonna fucking be so bad. I mean, at one point
There's
they
a lot of
lost
points.
against the.
It sucks, but
The Ducks. You got to get both those points against the Ducks.
oh yeah, you have to. But they should have had multiple points in other games as well.
They should have got a point against the Avalanche that one game. Remember?
Yeah,
should have had a game against the Avalanche right at the end. They gave a penalty goal with the
and they should have beat the Stars.
Yep,
3-0
in the first period.
Overtime. You could probably count on two hands extra points the Rangers should have got this year.
Yeah.
That Penguins game was awful shortly after the JT Miller trade where you beat
should
Vegas.
Be in the Senators, you blow a 2-goal lead and
you beat that. That's another one.
I think they should have been
the team that at the time was still in the playoff race. Now they've obviously gone up.
They should have been the Canadians in that game that they lost in overtime. Maybe a month ago.
Yeah, that was that high scoring game, right?
Yeah,
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
There's been a lot.
Yeah.
They should have.
Not as bad as the Ducks game, though. I mean, they lost to I know it wasn't a 1-goal game. It was more than 1-goal game, but they lost to the Blackhawks.
Yeah, they lost the Blackhawks.
Predators.
They lost the Predators. Had some really bad losses. Terrible. They lost to the Sabres twice. 6-1 and 8-3.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Penguins game.
Yep.
Penguins game. That was bad.
Yeah. Flames didn't no show. They, especially against bad teams. Penguins aren't making the playoffs. Sabres aren't making the playoffs. It's unacceptable. Predators aren't making the playoffs. Ducks aren't making the playoffs. It's, and they still find a way to, lose those games, which is terrible. But that's where they're at, I guess, at this point.
I guess we talk about the news that happened today. We didn't really mention too much about Perreault. Kind of talked over it.
Yeah.
Into that.
Gabe Perreault comes up, entry-level contract, 3 years. Obviously, so he'll burn 1 year this year. Of course, 19 years old, right? 23rd overall pick. Boston College losing. He comes up. So I think Rangers fans should be happy about this, right? 16 goals, 32 assists, 48 points in 37 games this year for Boston College. Put some of those numbers into rankings. He was tied for 4th among the NCAA skaters in assists, 8th in points per game with 1.3, and tied for 11th in points as a whole. So he's exciting young prospect. You just hope that the Rangers, he's their top prospect.
They don't Ranger him.
No, they don't Ranger him. They don't bury him. We talked about this off air, but throw him in the top 6, go him out there. At this point in the season, it'd be different if he came up, let's say last year, with the team playing well on their way to the President's Trophy, of course, and making the playoffs, and they didn't really necessarily need him to, go up in the top 6. But with the way the power play is playing right now, with the way the team as a whole is playing, you kind of can treat Perreault a little bit as a deadline acquisition where he can actually help this team right now with how bad they're playing, even though he's just 19 and he's going to have some growing pains. With how bad this team's playing, he could potentially provide a little bit of a spark for a young guy, bring some energy. And I said this too. We talked about this last week, that if he does come up, it at least gives you some excitement watching these games. Because even in a playoff race, these games are so boring.
I know. They're bad.
They drag. So at least you can look forward to watching him, his shifts and stuff, seeing how he looks, maybe pick up a couple points, at least gives you some more interest in these games, because You'd think for a team fighting for the playoffs, these games would be fun to watch, but this team's it's like watching paint dry all
Bad
year.
defense.
They play a boring, bad defense. They don't get any pressure on net. They just play a very boring, bad style of hockey. So hopefully Perreault helps some of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of agree though. Like we were saying, where he's got to play top 6. I think not even top 9. You got to give him top 6 minutes. I put him with Miller, who's been your best player. I think offensively, maybe you can get more out of him. I honestly like the power play has been horrendous. Like we were looking up stats before, like 5 for the last like 53 or something, like 1 for the last like 22. It's terrible. So
Yeah.
throw him on the power play. I mean, can't hurt, right? I mean, it's not like the power play, like you said, is clicking like it was last year. They probably won't, but no, they really can't mess this kid up.
No, this is like not their last chance, but this could be the guy you surround your next rebuild around, like your next blue chip piece. You can't screw up.
I'm curious to see how his like skating translates to the NHL.
Yeah,
curious to see that.
And he's not the most physical either. So how does that as well like translate? To the NHL game? The Rangers.
He'll fit in. He'll fit in perfectly though.
Yeah, he'll fit in perfectly. Yeah, no back checks, no no forechecking, just stand there and be a Ranger, right?
I don't know. I'm excited, but at the same time, a little nervous because, like, what if he comes up and he's just bad, and it's just like, oh my god, here we go again.
And it gives you no excitement going to next season. It's like Perreault looks awful for these 8 games. Rangers missed the playoffs, rebuild going to next year, and you're like, oh, Perreault looked,
It's 8 games now, so if he doesn't look good, I feel like
we'd still go into next season excited.
Yeah, give him a whole year. I'm not like,
especially if he looks good in the preseason, like we'll be like, oh.
I'm not gonna anoint it either way. I mean, it'd be great if he looks good. If he doesn't look good, he's just coming off of.
The only way you anoint him is if he goes on a run here and the Rangers win the cup,
and he wins the Conn Smythe.
Yeah, that's hey, it's not impossible.
Put him up in the rafters after.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna work 37.
Imagine that happens. You know what would be weird? Like if that happens, right, and he wins, it's like his job's here is done.
Yeah, we don't need him anymore.
Yeah, like even just for him, he'll play 8 games, and then like he could just retire. Like I won a cup, won it for the Rangers. Who needs to go through a rebuild? Just end it at that point.
I think he's gonna wear 37. So I don't remember the last Ranger to wear that number. It's a pretty unique number. He can't wear 34 because Arthur Kaliev wears that.
Rangers legend right there.
Rangers legend, yeah. Maybe just in the press box and he feels bad. He's like, I'm hurt, so you can have my number.
Yeah. Who did? Let's see. Rangers 37.
I don't even know if there's been a Ranger to wear 37. To be honest,
I don't even know. It's such a weird number. Let's see.
Can you even look that up? Let's see.
Yeah, list of hockey reference. All right, 37. There has been 12 players. Wow, that's a lot more.
Said Matt Zuccarello wore 37. I don't know if I believe that. Did he?
Not on Hockey Reference, it doesn't say. Connor Allen was the most recent.
I do remember him. Michael Samuelson. The guy sounds familiar.
Tony Tuzzolino. Tim Sweeney.
I mean, like these guys play like 2 years. Look, this guy played 2 years, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, and then there's
1
a couple.
year,
1 year,
1 year, 2 years, and then 1, 2.
George McPhee, 83 to 85. Never heard of any. Never heard of those. Like,
hey, 37 won't be worn after Wednesday.
That'd be the last. They've been saving it for him. They've always known all along Perreault was on their radar.
It's gonna be the last Ranger to wear 37. Let's see, Berard was the first Ranger to wear 65.
Which number has not been worn? 57, 52. A lot. Anthony Duclair still the only Ranger to wear 63.
Yeah, you're right.
Othman the only one to wear 78. Keandre Miller, 79, the only one. You know that number will be handed around again because he ain't going up in the rafters.
It'll be given up like next year. 80,
Buchnevich still the only to wear 89.
84 or no, yeah, that hasn't been worn.
85 hasn't.
89 has never been worn, or 98 has never been worn.
99 has. Gretzky. Who else? 96. Nicholas Aube-Kubel.
Oh,
That's going up in the rafters.
And what about the other 96 legend from last year?
Oh, Jack Roslovic. Yes.
Jack Roslovic.
Rangers legend right there. That is a Rangers legend. 88, Patrick Kane. See some of the old washed up players the Rangers have picked up over the years.
Couple 91s.
77. Tony DeAngelo, Frank Vetrano, and Nico Mikkola. What a group.
All recent Rangers.
Yeah. Philip Esposito wore 77 too.
But like, see, like 83, like Ryder Korzak, like that guy's never played a game with the Rangers. So like,
Yeah, even
you know what I mean?
96 Raul Boilyard.
That guy's never played a game with the Rangers either.
Yeah,
he's a prospect.
I know, and it says 25.
Yeah, those are wrong. So
And 97 is the same
maybe
thing.
some of those are wrong, where like they hadn't really played a game with them.
Johnny Brzezinski, 76.
He was
and Brady
76,
Shea. Yeah, 22 now. Who else wore 22?
Nick Holden, maybe. Boyles, both the Boyles.
A lot of them. Oh my
Dan
god.
Boyle, Brian Boyle, Nick Holden, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ryan Carpenter.
Ryan Carpenter. I forgot about that guy.
Kevin Shattenkirk. Remember him?
Yeah. They loved Ryan Carpenter. I remember like he would always play and then like, why is this guy in the lineup?
Who is that? Oh, I always forget his name. That terrible defenseman a couple years ago. Oh, he freaking sucked.
Rafael Diaz? Or is that way too like John Moore? Let's see. Nick Holden.
No, I was
really bad. Stahl, Ben Harper, Tenorti. Is that what you're thinking of?
He came over from the Tenorti sucked, but he came over from
awful.
Pittsburgh.
Ruedel?
Not Ruedel. I would never forget that.
Jack Johnson?
Jack Johnson. He was horrid.
That guy was terrible. I don't know why.
Ben Harper.
Ben Harper was a freaking comb. Remember we got into it like Corey Perry at the end of 2 years ago season?
Yeah. Remember Libor Hayek?
Libor Hayek. Yeah, he sucked. He was terrible.
Yeah.
He came in the
round.
Brian McDonough trade. Dryden played on the team that lost to the Lightning.
Yeah, I think he was on the Devils team too.
I don't know. Was he in the
Devils? For a little while. And I think he was on the Devils.
Rangers legend.
Rangers trade deadline legend Tyler Mott.
2-time trade deadline legend.
Yeah. You know who's a 0-time trade deadline legend? Jack Roslovic.
Jack Roslovic, yeah, he fucking sucks.
He doesn't count as a legend. You know, Wemberg was a trade deadline legend.
He scored an overtime goal. I feel like he get an overtime goal. Like, you know.
He was solid. Roslovic was awful.
Yeah, that was a disaster. John Davison really got us with that one.
Yeah. Fleecing the old stomping grounds.
He's like, oh, you guys fired me. Here's a good player. Huh,
yeah,
he's gonna be good for you.
Totally a good player.
Misses an empty net in game 5 or game 6.
Complete joke.
I can't believe you missed that.
Oh, I remember what's his face? Patrick Nemeth.
Oh my god, he was awful. Oh my god, he was so bad. And honestly,
Justin Braun up terrible defenseman.
Or Justin Braun. He was
I think that was the same year too.
Yeah, he was awful.
And then that was Tenorti's year too, right? Wasn't that all like that 21, 22 team?
Before that though, yeah. He was
I'll tell you what.
Bad. I mean, so many bad defensemen on this team, it's crazy.
That freaking 2020, 2021 like COVID season, like the 56 game season team, there was some you could get some good polls on that team. Like that was like the Kevin Rooney days, Julian Gauthier,
yeah.
Freaking Phil DiGiuseppe.
Yeah, legend.
There's so many bums on that team.
Colin Blackwell, was he on that team or no?
Yeah. He was
Or was
actually
it?
not bad.
Yeah. Then he went.
I like
I
Colin
think
Blackwell.
he got drafted
Expansion.
by the Kraken,
Yeah.
the expansion draft.
I liked Colin Blackwell. He was like he was a solid 1 year,
Yeah, a 1 year wonder.
COVID
Playing on
legend.
the first line with Panarin.
Yeah. We don't all that we were doing all this waiting and here we are. We could take Colin Blackwell right now. He can't be any
We
worse.
could use Colin Blackwell.
He's
Yeah.
gonna he pushed play. He was a North and South player.
Yeah.
We could use him right now. Isn't that sad? That was supposed to be like the end of like the rebuild, the start of the new day, and here we are.
Talking about guys that we could have used.
Guys on that COVID season team that we could have used.
Like
Colin
McKegg
Blackwell.
on that team or no? Greg McKegg.
I think he might have been. I think that might have been after.
He was
Morgan Barron. They had a couple of the other younger guys.
Remember Nick Bonino last year?
Yeah, Bonino. The goal against the Bruins. Legendary moment.
Yeah. I forgot he was on the team last year.
That guy was horrible.
I mean, yeah, he was washed.
Remember the Brennan Lemieux? He had the what was it? Remember he blocked like the 2 shots off his legs, and then he was like crawling off the ice in pain. It was I forget which it was during the COVID season.
I liked him. I thought he was a good fourth line player.
Yeah, he was a good physical guy.
I don't know if he was great in the locker room. Maybe that's why they got rid of him.
There was a lot of locker room cancers that year. He had the
Tony
D'Angelo Georgiev fight. Yep.
Dude, that might have been one of the worst goalie performances I've ever seen on Saturday. Like, geez, he's terrible. He's awful. I mean, they've had a ton of backup goalies too recently, like Georgie, Lundqvist. I guess he was kind of the backup. Halak, Yaroslav Halak, Rangers legend.
What's the most random Ranger you can think of?
I don't know, like Enver Leeson, Eric Christensen. I don't know, Vinny Prospel, all guys from like early 2010s. Like Nikolai Zherdev. Do you know any of these guys? I'm just by naming people.
No, I don't. Chris Summers.
I know the name, but yeah, I know who that is. I don't know, like Antti Ranta. We had him.
Yeah, Antti Ranta. He was a backup goalie legend.
Bobby Sanguinetti. Just guys from like early 2010s. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Oscar Lindbergh.
Yes, I do remember him.
He went to the Knights. Brett Howden. He's not random, but Brett Howden.
Brett Howden's a legend.
Yeah. He scored like 30 goals this year, I think. Isn't that crazy? And the Rangers, he like sucked.
Yeah.
And then he went to the Knights and he's won a Stanley Cup and he's going to score 30. I think he's about around 30. Could be wrong. Let's see. Oh, 22 goals, but still, like, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Better than what he was doing with the Rangers.
What are some other polls? Chris Summers. What about Connor Allen?
Is that the guy that you're talking about?
Like, no, that was just the Rangers poll.
Oh, I don't know.
Do you know Connor Allen?
Isn't he the guy that you said that had that number, that 37 that he lost for? Wasn't that?
No, I don't think he worked.
That was a different Allen?
Yeah, it was. No, yeah, it was Connor Allen.
They had a guy named Corey Potter. Aaron Asham.
Asham, yeah, I've heard of him.
James Shepard. Derek Dorsett. Danny Carcillo. You know
JT
Carcillo?
Miller.
He's a dude that scored the goal against the Flyers, and then he went into like the fans. It was going like that, and they were flipping him off in the playoffs. You ever see that clip?
Yeah. What about what are some other polls?
Well, it just depends like what era of Rangers hockey, and I can give you random polls. I don't know. I feel like
how deep in your bag can you go in the 90s?
Not that deep.
Not that deep.
Not when I wasn't alive. No. When I was watching the team, yeah, like 2010, 2008, maybe as early as I remember on. Like 2008, I can give you like Matt Cohen, Straka, Michael Nylander, who's William Nylander's dad, Brendan Shanahan.
Yeah, Nylander, he was on the number list. I forget which number it was.
I think he wore 92. He was a good player. He played with Yager and I think Straka, Brendan Shanahan, Blair Betts.
I have a couple. I think I got a couple polls from the
Michael Rupp,
2010s.
but Michael Rupp was on the team that won that Winter Classic game against the Flyers. Scored 2 goals, I think.
Salute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Benoit Pouliot, 1-year legend. I like Pouliot. I was sad they got rid of him.
Chris Drury,
former Rangers captain, now about to be former Rangers
how about
GM.
Peter Laviolette?
Yeah, they played 12 games.
That's a Rangers poll.
That is a poll. I mean, less than 10 games or less than 15 games.
Yep. But a legend nonetheless.
Sean Avery.
He's more known for his playing days than his coaching, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like when I look back on Coach Peters.
He was on an Olympic team, I think, in 88. He could puck. He could puck.
Little puck.
Fedor Tutin. That's Darius Kasparaitis. Malik. You know that guy that did the in-between legs shootout goal?
Yeah. I've seen that.
Artem Anisimov, Brandon Dubinsky. Fun fact about the Rick Nash trade. I found this out the other day. I made a graphic about it. The pick we got back from Rick Nash, right, when we traded for him, turned into be Pavel Buchnevich.
And then we traded him.
A great trade for the Rangers. You gave up Dubinsky, Anisimov, Tim Erickson, who was a defenseman who never really made it to the NHL, and then the first-round pick that they traded away. The guy played 4 NHL games.
That was what, Kirby Reichel or whatever his name was?
Yeah, you saw that? Yeah, I don't that guy barely played. And then they got back some random defenseman prospect who never made the NHL, but then obviously big game Rick Nash and then Pavel Buchnevich.
Sammy Blais, Rangers legend.
Sammy Blais. We got Sammy Blais for Rick Nash, I guess.
Yeah.
In the Rick Nash trade. What is it called? Trade trees?
Yeah.
Turned into Sammy Blais. Sammy Blais didn't turn to anything though, right? I don't even did we just cut him?
I mean, what he had the injury and he sucked.
That was a bust and a half. The Rangers are notoriously Ryan Spooner. That's a Rangers legend. They got Ryan Spooner.
Rangers.
Ryan Spooner turned into Dylan Strome. That's also part of a Rick Nash move. They got Ryan Spooner back in the Rick Nash trade to the Bruins, and they traded Spooner for Strome.
What's the most random athlete you can think of? And we'll close out the episode because now we're rambling. Any sport, most random athlete.
Random as in just random to my head, or just someone that nobody knows?
Just somebody that nobody probably knows. Could play any sport.
I don't know why. Well, this is not my random one. This is the one that's Ben.
Doesn't have to be New York. It could be anybody.
Green Ellis popped to my head, but I feel like a lot of people know who that is. The running back for the Patriots and the Bengals.
What about
I don't know. I feel like Steve Novak, but everybody knows who Steve Novak is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's some Manny Banuelos.
I do know who that is. He was a Yankees pitcher, right?
Yankees legend, yeah.
Chance Adams, but if you're a fan of the team,
yeah,
you know these guys are.
Non-New York. I mean, there's some random Nets.
I don't know, Greg Monroe,
Alan Crabb,
Brandon Knight, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. There you go. I mean, he's known for being a bust though. Anthony Bennett,
known for that terrible shooting form.
Anthony Bennett.
Shaq on the Celtics. Everybody knows about that though. That's just a washed poll. If we're thinking about washed, what's the most washed image?
Yeah,
washed player.
Shaq Celtics.
Shaq Celtics.
And then everybody just if it's a player going with
MJ Wizards.
People are comparing him to Kane on the Rangers. Kane was decent though.
Or Andre Johnson on the Titans. That's a pretty
Andre
washed
Johnson
photo.
Was pretty bad on the Titans.
Yeah, he was washed.
Didn't he also play on the Colts?
Yeah.
He's probably bad on the Colts too.
Yeah, he was washed. Everybody that goes to the Titans is washed out. Freaking Adrian Peterson is.
DeMarco Murray went there and was pretty good though for a couple years.
There's a lot of washed photos of AP though. You AP on the Seahawks, that's a washed photo. Anyway, Any closing thoughts?
This is what the Rangers team did. We've gone from talking about the playoffs to Perreault to Adrian Peterson. So
I mean, it's what
hey,
this team does to us.
at the end of the day, like I said,
Happy about Pro.
you got to win 5 games out of the 8.
Yep.
Okay, will they
Just
do it?
win, baby. Just win.
I don't know. I think the magic number is 87. That's all I'm going to say. 87. If you get to 87, you should be able to win. But who knows? Like I said, it's a big game tomorrow. If the Canadians win that game, like I said, they have an easy schedule coming after that.
Yeah.
Again, nothing's easy, but I mean, at the same time, teams are better than other teams. And if you win 2 in a row against the best team in the league, that's a momentum boost. But
I will say this, though. Potential letdown spot. If they lose to the or they beat Florida, potential letdown spot against Philly, back to back, feeling themselves a bit.
If all those teams lose the rest of the games of the season, the Rangers will make the playoffs.
Unless if they're
If everyone loses, right, and then like
that's what is that what it's gonna take?
If everybody loses out in the playoff race, and then you could just say like,
yeah,
the Red Wings. I don't know if they play one of the teams left in the playoffs. If they do, they win the game. The teams behind them, the lowest teams possible, if they play any of the teams in the race, if they win that one game against them and every other game's a loss, the Rangers will make the playoffs.
I like their chances.
Let's just like Rangers.
Every team loses.
The Rangers are going to go 1. They'll beat the Islanders, so the Rangers will go 1-7, and everyone else will go either 1-8 or 0-9.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying everyone's like, oh, they need 5-6 wins. No, all they need is 1.
The Rangers will get one more win and make the playoffs. They'll get into the playoffs at 79 points.
Imagine that 1-7 the rest of the way, and they make the playoffs.
They get 79 points.
That's got to be. That would be the most. That would be the least excited I think anybody has ever been for a playoff.
Imagine you're I know we were like rambling here, but imagine you're the Capitals who get like 110, 150 points.
I know,
and then lose to the Rangers in the first round with 79 points.
Imagine being like the Rangers, though, right? Like let's say they beat the Wild and then lose 7 in a row and still make the playoffs. Like the locker room vibes are in the toilet and they're in the playoffs. Like how do you respond from that?
They go 1-7, make the playoffs, and then they don't lose a game in the playoffs.
They go on a run.
They just go 16-0.
Hey, that actually happened. My rec baseball team a long time ago. We won 0 games in the regular season, and we won the championship. We went on a run.
Hey, you guys send that to the Rangers. You got to tell them that. Maybe DM after this.
That's the mindset.
Guys, that'd be the worst, I think, possible outcome for a team in sports history. If you win the President's Trophy, finish first, and then lose to a team that makes the playoffs,
got under 80 points. Yeah,
you lose to a team going to the playoffs on a 7-game losing streak. This is what the Rangers have done to us.
Let's see. What's fewest points to make the playoffs?
I think it was the Capitals. I think it was like 92 points.
In NHL history.
Maybe it's 90 points. I don't know. But we have to take into consideration. It's got to be like the 82 game.
Yeah, 82 games, not the 70 schedule. Wait, hold on. The fewest points. Oh, no, never mind. This is the fewest points in a season.
Well, the fewest there's also like half seasons though too. It's not even just like
there's some
in
weird seasons.
2013 it was 56 points. Like an 82. Like if you look, you have to look up fewest points to get in the playoffs in an 82 game season.
Just fewest points in general for a team not making the playoffs just in a season. Capitals 21, 867 and 5 in 1974, 1970.
There's probably a half season too, right?
80 games.
80 games?
Yeah.
Wait, how many points did they have?
21 points. A 131 point percentage. I'm telling you, it's on the NHL records page.
Jeez.
Not a record you want to be a part of, but
there's got to be something that. Let's see. Okay. What is the lowest the team's ever had? Let's see. Well, I'm on Reddit. You know, you can always trust Reddit. Someone said
the Quebec Nordiques.
They said in an 82-game season, the Canadians had 77 points in 1997.
So the Canadians really are going to make the playoff. 77 points again. Well, they can't, but
It said current. Okay, so there was, I think, I don't know how many teams there were, but it said there was, this person said between 26 and 31 teams, they made the playoffs with 77 points. The least ever was, yeah, I guess with the current era or whatever. So it's possible to make the playoffs, I guess, when getting less than 80 points.
yeah.
So right now the Rangers are good. We have 77 points.
Yeah. Right in a position.
If they lose out,
where we want to be.
If the Rangers lose out, they can make the playoffs technically.
We're all we got. We're all we need.
Because the Islanders can win one more game. The Blue Jackets can win one more game. The Canadians would have to go 0-9 to finish the season.
Yep. Starts tomorrow. Lose to the Panthers, and it's on.
A lot of
it's
losses.
crazy how bad the Devils were early in the 80s. They were so bad they couldn't sell out Izod or at the time Continental. There was nobody going to those games. They almost had to move back.
Honestly, like no offense to like your boy Brad Pack, like they still don't have a lot of fans.
No. Devils 1, 2. No, they don't. I mean, they're a small market. 2 of the top 50 is the Devils in all-time low points. Anyway, that's it. Any closing thoughts? 51 minutes in.
Just
20
like
minutes of rambling, 30 minutes of actual Rangers talk.
We gotta win one game at a time. Like I said, I think the magic number, since it's hockey, is 10. 10 points. I think they get him at 87. That's my gut. Try to win 5 of the last 3 or 8 though. We'll see.
Yeah. Or just go on a burner and win all 8. Make it easy. Could do that too. I highly doubt
but then
it
the Canadians would go 9-0.
Imagine that.
That would be crazy.
Rangers win 8 in a row and the Canadians win 9.
Canadians win 9 and we miss.
At that point, it's just like
that would sum up the season perfectly.
Yeah. And then you look back at all the games they could have had another point in.
Whatever.
Anyway, well, we don't want to go down the depressing path. It's going to be this time next week, and I say this with no confidence. Rangers will be in a playoff spot, and I have no confidence.
With no games in hand,
we got to put it out there. Put it out there in the air.
Like there's going to be no games in hand. They'll be like in a playoff spot.
Yeah, in a playoff spot where the season would to end today, they'd be firmly in.
Okay, we'll see.
And I don't think that'll happen, but I'm just, we got to putting that
out there. All right.
Putting it out there. Don't want to leave on the 8 straight wins, but then the Canadians win 9 straight. So anyway, that'll do it. We'll see you next week. Gabe Perreault scores against the Wild. Him and 2 Igor. Goals. 2-1.
I changed it. I had Igor originally on my goals pick, and I was like, the race is kind of close. So I was like, I can't just.
You don't want to do like a chat.
I don't want to throw. Yeah, I don't want to have a throwaway there. So I changed it to Miller. We got a lot of Miller on that. A lot of Miller on that sheet.
Hilarious if Igor scores though.
And I took him off. Yeah, because I had him on there originally on the first post.
I hope that Igor scores. That'd be hilarious. Igor scores, you take him off.
I don't even have the proof because I deleted the picture off my phone too. So
yeah, no proof. Yeah, I never saw it. No proof. Well, I saw it.
It was up there on our account.
Yeah. No, I saw it. Yeah.
And then when Panarin scored, I was like, you know what? I'm probably gonna change this now because we're tied.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I should have took Panarin.
Miller almost scored.
Dude, yeah, he did.
Panarin like owns the Sharks, so
he does. Panarin owns all the terrible teams.
Not the Ducks, but yeah. No,
unfortunately, we can't play the Sharks in the playoffs.
We'd win the cup.
Or else maybe Panarin would actually be half decent. But
maybe
who knows? Maybe they'll run into them in the Stanley Cup one of these
years. We can finish off on this. For the rest of the season in the playoffs, trick Panarin to believing we're playing the Sharks.
Yeah.
That's how we win. Exactly. That's what I'm going to finish on.
That's the mindset. It's the Sharks. That's it. So that'll do it. We'll catch you next week. Go Rangers.